Where are the protocols now? Because you asked players they couldn't go to anything other than to a doctor or a shop or to buy.
There's a number of levels. But firstly, every player every morning has to complete a phone app. There's a phone app with about 14 questions on there. They've got to complete that which is basically getting them to indicate whether they've got a sore throat or that sort of stuff. And if there's a red flag on any of those questions, then they don't come to training.
Right.
Okay. When they get to training, there's a cordoned off area, or secure area, I should say, a clean area where the players will go into. No one else is allowed inside that bubble, other than the players that play. To and from training, they've got to go in their own vehicle. They're not allowed to go in an Uber, taxi, public transport, any of that sort of stuff. It's basically keeping them away from risk of contamination. If they go to the shops, they've got to go direct there and back in their own transport. They're not allowed to play golf or do recreational activities. So
they're in lockdown.
They are pretty much in lockdown, yeah, and that's
and monitored.
And monitored very closely, yeah.
Yeah,
so they get temperature tested when they go to training as well. Everyone, and if their temperature's not in the range, then they're not allowed to train.
What's your biggest worry now?
The biggest worry is no doubt the community infection rate being controlled, and that's come out of Victoria originally. So I mean that's a concern. The Queensland closing the borders is not a worry for us, because we had permission before, because we fly in on private charter flights and back out on the same day.
Can I ask you who pays for that?
We don't. Yeah,
NRL.
NRL pays for that.
Does that cost a lot?
We've got a huge cost for that, but it's what we have to do.
Yep.
It's what we have to do. So there's a whole lot of protocols. There's a document that's about 60 pages. It's got all the protocols on it.
Because I saw something the other day, and it nearly killed me, because I'm aware of that protocol, and they said, we should be able to hold a rally or a protest here in Sydney or in Brisbane because the NRL's allowed to play football. Well, hang on a minute. The NRL guys fly in and fly out on their own plane. They're escorted from the aeroplane in their own transport. They're not getting in taxis or Ubers and things like that, or walking there or catching a train or a bus. They go to the venue, they play the game, they get shipped back out that night. They come back here in Sydney or wherever, and then they go home and in their own cars, and then they go to training in their own cars, and then they get, as you said, they get hot spotted at the training environments, in their own environments, and they get tested, and they're filling out all sorts of forms to make sure everything's okay. So there's nothing like a protest.
Well, it's exactly right, and it's funny when we announced that we're coming back on May 28 and we were developing all these protocols. I was getting a lot of emails and social media criticism for how ridiculous, like that's irresponsible and all this sort of stuff. But they didn't even know what the protocols that we had in place, these people, so it's people are naively commenting on what we were going to do and how irresponsible it was when they weren't even aware of what we were doing.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me, because social media, I guess to some extent, is designed to drag out all the cockroaches who want to actually have a peck at you. I mean, it kills me. But equally so, that's why these things are important. These are opportunities actually to lay the foundations for everybody to actually have proper knowledge about what you actually did. And this is like probably 2% of all the stuff that's actually going on. It's much more complex than what you're explaining today, or what is actually happening at the NRL for the players and at the club levels and at the game level, and probably even to some extent at the fan level.